Hello, everyone. This is BizChicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today I am here with Dawn Marie. She is a guest of our host, Miss Robin Shimizu. Robin is on assignment today, so she won't be in the studio, but this is the day where we talk happy, healthy habits with Robin Shimizu and friends. And today we have her friends. So I want to introduce Ms. Dawn Marie. We're going to be talking today about alternative uses for another way with CBD. And this is part two because we introduced this earlier this month when we talked with Dawn. And Dawn, we are so pleased to have you in the studio, and you were telling us a little bit about how you got involved with it. If you want to recap that and introduce yourself, and then I'm going to have you introduce our special guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry, for inviting me. Excuse me, inviting me this morning. I'm so excited about sharing Dry Bones Consulting, which is the name of my company, which offers many different aspects to healing yourself on a holistic level. My name is Dawn Marie, and I am the owner of Dry Bones Consulting. And my journey began with CBD probably about 10 years ago. And that is a result of me having severe migraine headaches. I was a migraine headache sufferer for decades and didn't realize that taking over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, ibuprofen, could cause me some long-term health effects. Needless to say, it really only masked the migraines. And so
I keep trying to move you into the secret spot. There you go. I think I got it.
okay. And so as a result of being a migraine headache sufferer, a friend of mine suggested that I speak to my doctor about looking into medical cannabis. And oh my God, what a game changer that was. Thank God I had a doctor who was an advocate with me for my health. And she knew that I did not want to be on any medications, and I'm still not on any medications today. And I just consider it a blessing that my life has come full circle to where I am walking around medication free. However, CBD is a way that I feel can help alleviate some of the discomfort that people are feeling in their bodies. And so I want to be able to provide as a resource to individuals a way with CBD by knowing the different strains, by understanding what it could do for you, and guiding you to the right sources in a dispensary to help you to be able to get the right help with the right dose and the right strain to help you with whatever that ailment may be. And I'm going to preface it that I am not a doctor. It's just based on my personal experience of using CBD that I just feel like it's one of the things that God has put on this earth to help us heal in a natural kind of way. So this morning,
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to have you introduce our guest and go right ahead. Thank you so much.
This morning, I have a guest with me who is the director. I'm sorry, he is the state director for the American Alliance of Medical Cannabis. And he's going to join us this morning to give you some insight into his experiences with medical cannabis.
Okay, so we introduce to some and present to others Richard G. Miller. How do you do, Mr. Miller? Hold on, because I'm going to make you dizzy by putting you in a speaker spot.
I'm fine. Thank you for having me here today. And welcome. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak before all your members out there. Once again, my name is Richard Miller. I am the State Director for American Alliance for Medical Cannabis. I hold several different hats. I'm also the California Advisory Committee for Americans for Safe Access, which is a patient organization here in California. as well as the Director of Education and Outreach for a Therapeutic Alternative. I have been in the cannabis space and working with patients for 31 years. I started during a time back in 1991, where there was a lot of stigma associated with cannabis, working with HIV and AIDS patients in San Francisco. During that time, I saw the medical benefits of cannabis, both CBD and THC. And as CBD has moved forward, I've really become to understand the medical benefits of CBD as well. My journey started with my uncle, where my uncle was ostracized not only by the community at large, but by my own family. And seeing that nobody would help, I went to San Francisco and met Dennis Perrone, which at that time gave me some insight on the benefits of medical cannabis and the pharmacological effects. Mm-hmm. That would begin a journey that has lasted, like I said, 31 years. And so I have continued to work to help patients understand the endocannabinoid system, as well as the pharmacological effects of cannabis. However, I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. So all my information comes based on my experience with working on patients in anecdotal, as well as scientific research that's being done around the world, where I participate in many conferences. Moving forward until 2006, I was involved in a very horrific truck accident where timbers went through my windshield. Mm. At that point, I was already a spinal patient because I had already had several injuries over the years. And I was on pharmaceuticals. But by time 2011 came around, I was so highly debilitated by the accident and the excessive pharmaceutical use that I had been on for over 45 years that my body was starting to shut down. My hair was falling out, my skin was turning gray, and my nails were yellow. I could not walk without assistance with a cane, and often had to be wheeled around in my own home with an office chair by my sister because I was just unable to move. It was at that point that I realized how critical it was and how medical cannabis wasn't just for those people that were dying, that people like myself that were suffering chronic conditions could get the medical benefits of cannabis. So at that time, I was bedridden, and the patients that I had been helping for years before were now coming to my aid to help me out. And it wasn't until they saw my pharmaceuticals on my nightstand that they called me a hypocrite, saying that I wasn't following my own medicine. It was at that point that I really realized the medical benefits of cannabis. That was in 2011 when I got notice of that. At that point, I was on 350 pills a month, and I was causing kidney failure. Mm-hmm. And other liver damage issues. So I knew at that point that I had to take a stand forward. I had to use the information that I had told for so many other people that were using it for terminal illnesses, that it was now me that was a medical patient. And I, at that point, was at 110 pounds, which was the lightest that I've ever been. Happy to say I have been off those pharmaceuticals for 10 years. Mm-hmm. However, I don't recommend people to do what I did. I was extremely experienced with the pharmacological effects of cannabis and knowing the outcome, and I could regulate my body and address the symptoms accordingly. Other people just getting off their pharmaceutical is not a safe thing, and that should be done with their doctor. Mm-hmm. At that point, being an activist that I am and having worked on legislative policy, I continued my efforts harder working with other activists here in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. To get laws passed. And currently we are passing laws every year. Just this year, we passed 11 laws for cannabis and CBD, 3 of which are directly affecting patients. So our work continues and we will continue on. But the one thing to understand is more important is the benefits of CBDs and the conditions that it helps. Now, I have composed a little list of medicines that I have worked with patients over the year. And this is just a brief breakdown of some of the conditions and the symptoms. And this is most important. We are not addressing the conditions as much as we are addressing the symptoms. If you address the symptoms, the conditions will fall by the wayside and you will take control of your body. Keeping in mind, your body is your teacher.
Mhm.
And you must listen to your body. So if you're in pain, you must back off, you must relax. These are all aids to help reduce the symptoms. And if you have success in your journey, is one that takes you forward in a positive direction, you've done
Yes.
everything right. So those following conditions start like this: PTSD, migraines, endometriosis, MS, lupus, autoimmune disorders, gastrointestinal disorders, fibromyalgia, autism, epilepsy, muscle spasms, anxiety, stress, neuropathy, insomnia and other sleeping disorders, chronic pain, arthritis, uh, past and present injuries, harm reductions to cigarettes, alcohol, opioid abuse, and pharmaceutical addictions, glaucoma, Tourette's syndromes, Lyme's disease, ADD, ADHD, depression, mood stabilization, equalization, and stress reduction,
Mm.
HIV, AIDS, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, cancers, and tumors, appetite suppressants, back pain, inflammation, sciatica pain, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, diabetes, nerve damage, high
Mm.
blood pressure, Parkinson's disease, ALS, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, and other skin disorders, anorexia or other eating disorders, TBI, commonly known as traumatic brain injuries, and IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, just to mention a few of those most commonly come into a therapeutic alternative to get direction. Now, as a staff member at a therapeutic alternative, we are there to assist those patients to understand what is beneficial for them and that every patient is different.
Mm-hmm.
We all have different biochemistries. We also have different metabolized systems, and different cannabinoids are beneficial to different symptoms. So CBD is very important, and it is the point at which we start all patients and members at. And we believe our philosophy is to start low and go slow.
Mhm.
That
Now,
being said, if you feel comfortable and you come in and you want education, we are there to educate.
yes.
And if you want uh, clinicians assistance, we provide that service free of charge. We give you a card, and you can call that clinicians and talk to them directly and get what would be best suited for your condition. And that only occurs when you are a member of a therapeutic alternative. Otherwise, there is a charge for that service. We are
Now,
here to help.
question
Yes.
is okay. Turn down your volume just a little so we don't have an echo. Okay, everybody's volume should be at half. All right, I don't hear myself echoing anymore. I'm good. All right, Mike, can you hear me, Mr. Miller? Okay, so my question is, if you are looking for a clinician to help you, do you have to be a resident of the state of California? Because we are talking to people all over the globe here. California is not the only state on the line. We've got Pennsylvania, Florida, New York, and a number of
Mhm.
other states that are tuning into the program right now as you speak. So, would this service be available to persons from other states?
Yes, it would be. However, that
There's a charge.
service does charge if
Okay.
you're not a member. If you call in and you say you're a member of a therapeutic alternative, they do not charge.
Okay. So
Um,
if they have a card, which is
we
what they need in order to access a store, a cannabis store, then would that serve as their documentation that they are part of this or
Well, here in California, you do not need a medical recommendation. We treat every uh, adult use member as though he is or she is a medical patient, because we know that people are medicating to reduce the stresses of life, which thereby automatically make it a medical condition. However, when they come into our facility, unlike some other states, you do need medical recommendations, and there are doctors out there that do provide that.
Mhm.
And you just have to Google it for your area, and you will find that recommendations doctor that
Mhm.
can give you that recommendation. when you come into a therapeutic alternative and you meet and you discuss with us and you have concerns regarding other pharmaceuticals having contraindications or negative side effects with cannabis, we give you a card that you can call that doctor or that nurse. And there is a nurse practitioner that will answer all your questions. Like I said, they do charge. And people can reach out to me and I will get them that number. However, it will not be covered by a therapeutic alternative. I believe their charge is $25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Reasonable. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I have your contact information. What would people use that contact information for? We want to advise them before we put it up here on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have everybody calling you trying to buy stuff or whatever.
Right.
Let's be specific about what the purpose of the contact information is for.
The purpose for the contact information is so they could reach out and contact me. Now, I am not going to answer what they should be taking or what is recommended or what symptoms. I will tell them, yes, it will work for that condition in most cases or symptoms for that condition. But it would be too lengthy of an email for me to sit and go through every email to answer the questions that I would need to even get started on a regimen for them. So that information would be good for general information, like getting the information to that agency that can help you understand, to get a recommendation, or to explain to where we're located, or if they have any generalized questions.
Okay, so I'm going to put this information in the chat. Is that okay? Because that's going to be on the screen, and that means it's going to be permanent on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So you may be getting some contacts.
And I'd like to add a caveat to that, Terry. With Dry Bones Consulting, we offer a service where we do dispensary field trips. For the individual who has never been into a dispensary, we'd like to be able to guide them as to what that process consists of. You're going to walk up to the door and there's going to be a guard there. That's going to be somewhat of an alarming situation. But we want you to be able to feel comfortable with the fact of going through those doors, knowing that you're going to need to fill out some paperwork. You're going to need to have your identification. You're going to need to have some cash on hand. Most of the dispensaries here in Sacramento are cash bases. There are machines inside of the dispensary, ATMs, but your bank is going to charge you an astronomical fee to be able to use that service. So reach out to Dry Bones Consulting if you're interested in having a consultation on setting up a dispensary field trip so that we can help guide you through that process. And we will guide you straight to Mr. Miller so that we can collaborate together to help you to get those resources that you need for whatever ailment you may be dealing with.
Okay, so I put the information in the chat for Dry Bones, and I'm putting it up here on the screen, Dawn. And I'm going to take down the fact that Mr. Miller, we're all talking right now. Okay. And Mr. Miller, I'm going to put your contact information up on the screen to allow people.
I just like to say, please give me a 24-hour window to respond, because I do a lot of legislative policy and I do work, and all this is done on my own free time as well. And I need a little bit of time to respond. The other thing that I wanted to answer is we do provide another caveat in that I trained a gentleman by the name of Danny Kress. So if you come into a therapeutic alternative, you do have that opportunity to have a one-on-one consultation with him, which he does weekly consultations 1 day a week. And generally it's about an hour consultation, and that is free of charge as well. And then the other thing that I'd like to mention is that most dispensaries aren't as educated as a therapeutic alternative. And when we revamped the organization about 10 years ago, we had the patient in mind, and sending in your grandmother. Our demographics is the seniors community. So I wanted, and our director wanted, to have a place that we could bring our grandmother. So you can bring your grandmother in here and know that you're perfectly safe.
Right.
This Now, I like that caveat there to let people know that we're not going to abuse people or
Mhm.
misdirect people. Also, we are not going to try to replace their doctor. We're just here to provide an alternative that may work better or allow them to um, use fewer, or in some cases, no pharmaceuticals that would affect their vital organs. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. And I think that most people, when they think about cannabis, they think that they're going to have to smoke something.
Mhm.
Can you guys clear that up for them?
Absolutely. Richard, I'll turn that over to you because I do multiple.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
smoking is an important part. It is the point that breaks the blood barrier to the brain immediately and can break those pain receptors immediately. However, it is only going to last an hour. Tinctures are very important. They have a little bit longer of a duration of life and can take anywhere from a half hour to upregulate. They go underneath the tongue and they are activated through this some subcutaneous mucous membranes and absorbed into the body. That, like I said, that can take a half hour to an hour, and it can last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. And then when you go with an edible is something that you eat and you swallow. It is processed through the gastrointestinal process. It goes through the liver, and that upregulation time can take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. And the duration of the medication of that time can be anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 hours long. So there are different components of using cannabis. You do not always have to smoke it. And in fact, I always encourage people to try tinctures or other uh, types of cannabis, whether it be a topical or
Mhm. Right.
edible or tincture before smoking. They
Right.
tend to be more efficacious and the pharmacological effects seem to be much better. Once again, always starting low and going slow.
Mhm.
So,
Terry, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you for clearing that up. I think there really is a misconception um, in the general populace about how this works and the types of products available.
Mhm.
You know, so I'd like you to talk specifically because I have someone in the family who has a condition around Parkinson's. Can you speak to that? I know we're not doctors, but could you clarify what sort of products might be helpful?
well, with Parkinson's, there's a variety of symptoms that occur. So, depending on the symptoms, but
Okay, so they have tremors, and they're having trouble. Well, I think that's a different condition, but they're having the tremors.
yeah, the
Mhm,
tremors are the most commonly associated. And, generally, if they've never used cannabis, and these are all questions we would ask at the beginning,
mhm,
then we would start off very low with 2.5 milligrams. And we would start with a high CBD, such as an 18 to 1 or a 40
Mhm.
to 1. And
Right.
then we would progress like this. It is a journey, it is not one pill or one tincture is going to fix it all. We build
Mhm.
it up into the system. And as the system goes on, we address on a daily or weekly basis, depending on what the individual wants, on
Mhm.
whether to increase or decrease medications. But we always start with a high CBD and work our way up. Typically, we try to get to a patient to a 1-to-1 ratio, and that means one part THC, one part CBD. Now, keeping in mind, CBD modulates the effects of THC. So if the THC is high and you get a euphoric effect, by adding CBDs, you can counteract that effect and
Mhm.
bring that euphoric ability down. What we want to do is give a quality of life without having debilitating effects, not only from the conditions, the medical condition, but the pharmacological effects of the cannabinoids that we're using. And
mhm,
we know that using a 1-to-1 promotes homeostasis, which means pretty much balance to the mind and the body. And so the two are interacting on a balanced playing feeling, and hope that that will reduce the tremors or the other symptoms associated with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and conditions like that in the autoimmune disorders.
Okay, so this would be a pill form.
Well,
So what I hear you
typically,
saying, not necessarily.
not necessarily. If the patient's never used any type of cannabis or CBD, we generally would start them off a tincture because remember, we want to give them the shortest window of time so we can figure out what is beneficial. And we actually have them keep a log. And we have them keep a log on how much of a milligram they took, how long it, at what time he took it, how long it took to affect, how long it lasted, and then do a pain scale to see if it was beneficial. And by doing this log process, we are able to ascertain whether or not this particular ratio of CBDs is beneficial, or if we should kick up the THC to help reduce the stress and the tremors. So it is a journey. It takes time. And I just recommend patients come in and talk whenever possible. We will help them dial it in, but it is a journey.
All right. So I want to say this about today's conversation. If you are looking for an alternative and you've considered CBD, we recommend that you contact either Dawn Marie or Richard. We put their information in the chat for Dry Bones Consulting, which is what Dawn Marie does, and she can walk you through the process. So if you've never been into a cannabis, what would you call it?
Dispensary.
I had to pull the word out, dispensary, then you may want to do that so that you feel comfortable and you know what to ask for, who to ask for, what you're looking to do, and learn the language before you venture into a dispensary.
Absolutely.
Also, you want to, you may want to have a conversation with Richard so that he can tell you some of the things that can be alleviated um, based on different studies that have been conducted. We are not here to give medical advice. We're not here to tell you to cut your doctor loose. We're just here to say there may be something that might work better than what you got
Another
going
way.
on. That there's just another way that may be a little more gentle on your body. Um, so with that, we want to thank you. Thank our subject matter experts. We want to thank Robin for connecting us with Dawn Marie, and Dawn Marie with connecting us with Richard. And so if you have more questions, feel free to contact them. Guys, do you have something you want to say before we go?
I have one thing, as we move forward, we must remember to remove the stigma associated with cannabis. If you look back prior to 1940, 60% of all medicines had some form of cannabis or hemp in it.
Oh, really?
So it's very important that we get back to prior to the 1940s medications and use some of this holistic care moving forward. It's about a better life and the pursuit of happiness and everybody being able to get out there. And I want you to also know that using a variety of other modalities such as yoga, kundalini, massage therapy, sound therapy are all very synergistic with cannabis. And that's a part of the culture most people leave out. But exercise and diet are most important. And I want to thank you both very much for bringing this information forward. It is much appreciated, and go in peace.
Absolutely. I receive that.
Thank you. Dawn Marie, did you have something you want to share before we go?
No, I just would like to let the audience know, as the title indicates, there is another way with CBD, and it is such a natural way to heal your body and get you some gentle relief. So why not try it? You've tried all these other pharmaceutical medications. We're in changing times. It's time to change the way you deal with a holistic approach to your life, your overall well-being.
Okay, well, we want to thank you for coming in today and for sharing so freely with us. If you have questions, feel free to contact Richard or Dawn Marie. We have their information in the chat. I just want to say thank you again. And remember, people, it's all right to make money in your business. You've been listening to BizChicks TV. So remember, we're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and take the hassle out of your hustle. So today we say, hey, you can't keep your wealth if you don't have your health. So we want
Mhm.
to give a shout out to Robin
Yes.
and
Thank
thank
you,
her for
Robin.
our
Yes.
guests today. With that, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be talking tech and English. We're going to the alt VR space tomorrow.
Mm.
So you may want to pay attention
Okay.
and find out how to get yourself an avatar and sort
Yeah.
of, what would I say, navigate in a VR space, virtual reality. So with that, remember, it's okay to go to the front of your own line. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're here every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day, everyone.